To be blunt about it, the Freestyle Libre changed my life. You see, I test my blood sugar anywhere between 10 and maybe 20 times a day. I think it's something to do with a control issue. But anyway, you can just imagine the state that my fingers were in after even just a few years of constant abuse, especially when I was using probably a dull lancet that I should have changed weeks ago. So immediately after getting the Freestyle Libre, all of that was gone. All of the pain from the many finger prick tests and the bruising from the constant pricking. Not to mention the time that all used to take, taking out the strip, preparing the equipment, then getting my finger to bleed, and then having to wait for the result. All of a sudden, that was all replaced by a simple tap on my arm, and as a result, my diabetes management improved dramatically, and all the anxieties and the other mental impacts associated with the condition were dramatically lessened. It's been so beneficial to me, and I can't imagine life without it. So why are still so many people struggling to get one on the NHS? You even heard recently, Parthakar tweeted to say that the Freestyle Libre 2 is available for people on the NHS, and I've seen people starting to use it. So why now are hundreds of people still unable to get a Freestyle Libre on the NHS? Well, that is what I hope to find out in the course of this video. But first, let's bring you up to speed with how, if you didn't know already, a Freestyle Libre works.
A flash glucose monitoring system measures your sugar levels continuously throughout the day. It tells you if your sugar levels are going up or down and how your sugar levels change over time. It also allows you to see all of that information on a handy graph for the past 8 hours, so you can see what happens to your levels when you sleep at night. The flash monitor doesn't actually measure your blood sugar levels. It measures the amount of sugar in a fluid under your skin called interstitial fluid. The flash system is made up of a sensor you stick in your arm about the size of a £2 coin, a reader, a small device you use to scan the sensor to see your sugar levels, but you can also use a smartphone app to do the same thing. Now, a flash glucose monitor won't eliminate finger prick tests forever. You'll still need to do some the old way, particularly when you drive or have a hypo.
Luckily for me, I get the system on the NHS, which means for all intents and purposes, it's completely free. But before then, I was paying for it myself. So every 2 weeks, which is how long the sensors last, 14 days, I was having to pay just over £50 to replace the sensor. So that was pretty expensive to keep up. But despite the price, it's a fantastic piece of kit with incredible benefits. You'll see loads of people posting about it on social media. But as of June 2020, less than a third of people with type 1 diabetes in the UK had managed to get a Freestyle Libre on the NHS. That means that unless they can afford it, thousands of people are potentially missing out on the incredible benefits of this piece of equipment, like Helen Uren, who really struggled to get her GP to listen.
I've had Freestyle Libre now probably for just over a year, but where I live, we're in the far northwest of England, and we are under the Morecambe Bay and Lancashire CCG. Obviously, I've followed Libre right from the start because I've been type 1 for 48 years. And obviously finger pricking was getting to the point where it was just so painful and not doable anymore. I followed the Freestyle Libre as it was developed and coming into the country, and I could see that other counties and areas were getting it authorised. As I felt like my area was one of the late ones to get it. I even wrote to the CCG, the commissioning group, who were obviously the ones with the purse strings, about it. They were very dismissive to me. Even when I said I was a healthcare professional, they didn't really want to know. After a few more emails and letters sent to them, they finally said I could be a neutral person on the board, and they sent, how can I call it? It was like a document for people that were going to be eligible for the Freestyle Libre. And when I read it, I couldn't believe it, how strict it was going to be for people to be allowed to have this system. Obviously, once it came out, I give my opinion to them, and it came out in my area. I badgered for lots and lots of months, could I have it, sadly, they kept saying that I didn't have a need for it, although I had a pump. And fine, one of my last appointments, they said to me, unless you test 6 times a day, Helen, you've got no chance of getting it. But I said, I do test 6 times a day. So then I had to give evidence to my clinic that I tested 6 times or more a day for them to finally get my consultant to prescribe it for me. And I felt that I had to fight to the bitter end to get it. And I just think they must realise, because like I said, like obviously I haven't done a finger pricking for 40 odd years, but over the time, my fingers, I was filing them with a nail file because they were getting so thick and tough. And I'm just said, I can't face doing this anymore. And it just fell on deaf ears. And that's the saddening thing about it, that these people who are given the authority for you to use this device haven't got diabetes, so they don't see it as a personal perspective. And I think that's what they've got to wake up to.
And while many thousands have had to continue waiting for access for the Freestyle Libre, Abbott, who produced the system, have updated it twice. The latest update, the Freestyle Libre 3, has just been approved for use across Europe, so we aren't likely to see that anytime soon. But as of now, the start of 2021, the Freestyle Libre 2 is being rolled out to many people. So what's the problem? Well, a leading voice in the NHS for people with diabetes is Professor Partha Kar, and amongst other things, he works incredibly hard to improve access to this sort of technology.
Yeah, so I think some of it is driven also by the company as to where they want to position their products at the end of the day. So, I mean, we also don't forget that at the moment, some of the questions that I'm getting is that why isn't the Freestyle Libre 3 here? Yeah, right. And you're absolutely right. So suddenly you are saying that, well, hang on a second. So the people who have been fortunate enough to get the first one now gets the second one, while we've got people around who even got to the first one. So what about them? So if you take a step back, we've got about 80,000 people right now on the Freestyle Libre, right? So we had sort of made a commitment, we would get to X number, we have crossed that number. Now, what we are doing next is we are now basically devolving everything down or moving everything down to the local systems. And we're saying, look, we have pushed it into the system. We think it should be eligible for a wider population. So please try and widen it. And in fairness, so we've started the first ball rolling. So recently we have done it for learning disability. We have said, doesn't matter what type of diabetes, if you're on insulin, you should have this. So that's like signaling that, okay, we need to open up the doors. And I think the evidence that's been collected is quite strong. So if you come to my region, if I'm very honest, you would be struggling not to get a Libre in the sense of, I would say, it would make a difference to you if you've got type 1 diabetes. Question is, how do you interpret the criteria, right? So, I was one of the authors of the criteria. One of the criteria in there, and I think it's also about how people start interpreting it, right? Or, so the first of all, there's a criteria there that if you as a clinician or a multidisciplinary team will feel that it will improve your psychosocial well-being, right? Then you should have a trial for 6 months. Well, that's a pretty broad criteria for type 1 diabetes, if that makes sense. So lots of people have taken advantage of it, and you've got some areas which are prescribing it pretty much. If you need it, okay, we'll go for it. Some areas, they have taken it absolutely to the literal meaning, where they would say, well, if you have to have this device, then you need to sit down and do a face-to-face education. Well, you can't do that in present times. And that sort of stops so we have been very clear, there's no such things that you have to do a face-to-face education to get a device. That's silly. We've got online education and stuff like that. So some barriers due to interpretation of it, some barriers due to clinicians themselves, I would say. So a mixture of factors.
So what happens then with the new Libre 2 system? Will people only just getting access to the system have to start at Libre 1, or will you start at Libre 2?
So first of all, anybody who's on the first Libre is eligible for it. And I suspect what will happen as it gets embedded more in the system, if you then are eligible and if you're going up first up for Libre, you don't have to go through 1 to get to 2. We would expect them, straight to go to 2. I mean, that makes more sense. Why would you go to a 1 first and then a 2? And we've got precedence of that a lot in the insulin market. So companies have got, different ranges of insulin. We don't tend to go through, we'll go through the one that was in the 80s first, and then the 90s, and then we'll get you up to scratch. We tend to go straight to the most modern one.
But ultimately, without a cure, it's technology like this which allows me and the 400,000 other people with type 1 diabetes in this country to lead even close to a normal life. And I really feel a sort of solidarity with my type 1 brothers and sisters, not only around the world, but especially in this country. And it makes me really sad, actually, that people across this country don't have equal access to technology like pumps and other forms of insulin like I do. Where I am in the country, it's a postcode lottery, isn't it? And that's what we need to end. That's why I call my podcast the All for One podcast, because we should all stand for each other. It's all for one. We're type 1s and we should be standing for each other. So I want to start a discussion. I want to, get people to understand that there are people who are being excluded, actively excluded from access to this technology, and it needs to change. We've heard a lot about the excluded this year, haven't we? The people who have been excluded from government support, freelancers like myself who don't have enough books or haven't, or they're directors of company. So that made me realise that it's the same case for people who can't get the Freestyle Libre. They've been actively excluded from this life-changing technology, which ultimately is going to improve their management of diabetes and reduce massively the risk of future complications. So why don't you let me know in the comments box below your experience? How easy was it for you to get a Freestyle Libre? Have you not managed to get one at all and you're still fighting? Have you managed to get the Freestyle Libre too? Let me know in the comments box below. I'm really interested in all of that, and maybe it'll form a future video or podcast episode, but that's up to you to leave some comments so I can do all of that. But that is all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching. Please leave a like and hit that subscribe button. It really, really helps me out. It helps me to make more videos just like this. Also, in the description box below, there are a few links where you can find out ways of supporting this channel. A link to Patreon, where you get direct access to me, communication, and access to all of my content as early as possible. And also there is a Spreadshirt and Teespring shop where I have produced some, it's maybe not merchandise, it's more like type 1 diabetes accessories and clothing. I've been scribbling away on my iPad, coming up with designs, and I'm putting them out for people to buy. So if you want to do that, by all means, there's no pressure to do so, but it does really help me, it really helps the channel, and it makes me do a little happy dance when I see someone joins the Patreon or buys a t-shirt or hoodie or that sort of thing. So that's all I've got for you for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one sometime soon. Bye bye for now.